There are moments in football when the field feels less like painted turf and more like a pressure chamber. Sunday night was one of those moments, and every lens, microphone, and skeptical whisper was pointed at one player. Shedeur Sanders, the rookie the league couldn't decide whether to doubt or dread. Before he even took the first snap, the narrative had been built like a shaky tower, overhyped college star, silver spoon storyline, dad made, system fed, sunglasses sold. The usual chorus. But what happened next didn't just challenge the storyline, it shredded it. Because the first thing any quarterback expects when they step into their debut is clarity. Not comfort, not perfection, clarity. A simple set of answers baked into the system for when chaos erupts. But the film told a different story. It told the story of a rookie dropped into a maze with the lights cut. No hot routes, no safety valves, no rhythm throws, no quick answers for blitzes that were practically stamped with delivery tracking numbers. And somehow, through this tactical blackout, Shedeur still uncorked passes that hummed like they were carved off a throwing machine. Before anyone had time to blink, Kurt Warner, a man whose football resume could double as a fortified archive, stepped forward and said the quiet part loudly. He looked at the tape, dissected every snap, every ghost blitz, every collapsing edge, and came back with a verdict that detonated the online narrative. Shedeur actually threw the best ball on the roster. The twist wasn't subtle. It was seismic. While everyone else judged the stat line, the ugly 4416 written across social media like a neon indictment, Warner dug beneath the rubble and found a truth the critics couldn't stomach. Because context, inconvenient as it is, matters. Pressure was hitting Shedeur so fast the pocket may as well have been built out of dissolvable paper. His receivers were running routes that might as well have been sketched without pens. And the play design, it had all the elegance of a jigsaw puzzle missing the corner pieces. Every frame of film felt like a message. This wasn't failure, this was sabotage baked into the blueprint. And yet, even in the middle of that whirlpool, Shedeur kept firing. Yes, he hesitated. Yes, he drifted. But when he let loose, the ball flew with a kind of conviction that doesn't come from hype posters or marketing campaigns. It comes from talent that refuses to be buried. The kind Kurt Warner doesn't praise lightly. That's the shock. Not that Shedeur struggled, rookies struggle every season. The shock is that he showed flashes of something real, something sharp, something dangerous, despite being handed a game plan that felt more like a trap than a launch pad. The shock is that his failure wasn't his failure at all. If you're enjoying this video and loving the content, don't forget to give us a big thumbs up. It really helps us know what you want to see more of. And why keep all the excitement to yourself? Share this video with your friends, family, or anyone who loves NFL drama. And tonight, as the dust settles and the headlines quietly flip, someone needs to rewrite the story. Because the truth, the inconvenient, film-proven truth, is that Shedeur Sanders might have survived a debut that should have broken him. And surviving that is the real beginning. There are moments in football when the noise becomes so loud, so overwhelming, that the truth gets buried before anyone even has a chance to speak it. And that's exactly what happened the moment Shedeur Sanders walked off that field. The stats were already being plastered across social media like a funeral announcement. 4 completions, 16 attempts. A box score so brutal the algorithms didn't even hesitate before pushing the bust narrative straight into the bloodstream of the NFL internet. But quietly, almost too quietly, something else was happening. Something nobody expected. Because while the world rushed to declare the verdict, an unlikely source stepped forward, placed the film on the table, and said, "No, you guys have this all wrong." That source, Kurt Warner. A Hall of Famer, a former MVP, a quarterback who clawed his way from grocery store aisles to Super Bowl glory, a man who cannot be fooled by a box score, a highlight reel, or a Twitter narrative. He doesn't care who your dad is, what conference you played in, or how loud your fan base screams. All he cares about is the tape. And when he pressed play on Shedeur Sanders' first NFL action, he didn't see a quarterback drowning. He didn't see a kid exposed. He didn't see what the internet told him he should see. He saw something completely different. Warner watched a rookie operate in chaos with more calm than quarterbacks 10 years older. He watched him diagnose blitzes, slide protections, understand where pressure was coming from, even when the receivers didn't. He watched him make throws that most rookies don't attempt when the pocket is clean, let alone when it's collapsing in under 2 seconds. And then Warner said the words that flipped the entire conversation upside down. "Shedeur throws the best ball I've seen in this rookie class." Everything stopped. Because this wasn't an influencer fishing for engagement. This wasn't a talking head recycling a narrative for clicks. This was one of the cleanest quarterback minds the sport has ever produced, telling the world that the kid everyone was dragging through the mud might just be the one they should have been paying attention to all along. And suddenly, the narrative people thought they understood started to crack. Warner wasn't praising the stats, there were none. He wasn't praising the box score, it was ugly. He was praising what only experienced eyes could see. The decisions, the mechanics, the intent, the ability to stay functional when everything around you is broken. He saw every problem, every flaw, every mistake. But unlike the critics, he also saw context. He saw design failures. He saw receivers who didn't know the hot rules. He saw an offense that gave its rookie quarterback no answers in the moment. And just like that, the film, not the box score, became the story. The outrage came fast, loud, and predictable. Within minutes of the game ending, the hot takes were already assembled like a pre-written obituary. Colorado product exposed. Welcome to the NFL, kid. He's not built for Sundays. Every major talking head had their monologue ready. The internet feasted, critics celebrated, and 4 for 16 became the punchline of the week. It was the perfect storm. Huge hype, famous last name, disappointing debut. The kind of combination that sports media has learned to monetize with surgical precision. But then something interesting happened, something the narrative machine wasn't prepared for. People started watching the film. Not the stat sheet, not the highlight clips, the film. And when Kurt Warner was the first one to step forward with an actual, detailed breakdown, the entire conversation shifted from reactionary noise to uncomfortable truth. Because the truth wasn't flattering, not for Shedeur's critics, not for his receivers, and definitely not for the coaching staff that put him on that field. Warner didn't sugarcoat anything. He acknowledged missed throws, drifting mechanics, and moments where Shedeur hesitated. But then came the part that flipped the script. Shedeur wasn't failing because he was overwhelmed. He was failing because the system around him collapsed before the ball was even snapped. No hot routes. No quick answers versus pressure. Receivers not looking back. Play designs that broke down instantly. A protection plan that made no sense against the defense he was facing. And suddenly, the 4 for 16 narrative didn't look like a quarterback issue. It looked like a structural issue. Then came Jacob Roach, another respected analyst echoing Warner's findings. Roach didn't defend Shedeur out of sympathy. He defended him because the tape demanded it. He pointed out a detail the critics completely ignored. Shedeur was making the right reads. He was identifying the right intentions. He was trying to execute concepts that simply did not exist on the field that night. He was doing what the coaches told him to do, while the scheme gave him no tools to survive the constant pressure. This is where the narrative truly flipped. Because now, instead of blaming the quarterback, analysts began asking the uncomfortable but necessary question. Who actually failed? The rookie quarterback, or the system that was supposed to support him? The internet wasn't ready for that conversation. But the film didn't care. What Warner and Roach exposed was simple yet devastating. Shedeur Sanders wasn't the disaster everyone wanted him to be. He was the lone functional piece in a dysfunctional situation. And that realization forced the football world to reconsider everything they thought they knew about his debut. The narrative was no longer, Shedeur failed the NFL. It was, the NFL failed Shedeur. Just when the story seemed to settle into a predictable pattern, a secondary analyst stepped in, someone known for calling out inconsistencies long before mainstream media catches on. And the moment he shared his perspective, the entire conversation shifted again. He wasn't one of those loud personalities chasing headlines. He was the type who built his reputation on deep-dive breakdowns, leaked sideline insights, and reading between the lines of front office behavior. So when he spoke up, people listened. He started by pointing out a detail everyone else overlooked: timing. According to him, the move didn't match the team's public messaging, but it did match their internal strategy patterns from previous seasons. He noted that this organization had a history of quietly grooming replacements long before making official announcements. And when those moves finally happened, they always looked sudden from the outside, even though insiders saw them coming months in advance. Fans immediately latched onto this, because for the first time, someone wasn't just reacting to the chaos. He was explaining it. The analyst also brought up another angle: pressure. Not the normal rookie pressure, but the kind that comes from ownership. He suggested that whispers around the league hinted at upper-level influence, not direct commands, but strong preferences guiding the coaching staff's decisions. He made it clear he wasn't claiming this as fact, only nodding that reports around the league had been hinting at involvement far above the coaching level. That's when people really started paying attention. Because if that was true, if ownership had been nudging this move quietly, then the public narrative was completely backwards. It wouldn't be a surprise rise. It would be a long-planned shift finally reaching the surface. He wrapped up his breakdown with one more observation: Shedeur's confidence. Not the flashy kind, but the calm, controlled presence of someone who had been told more than the public was allowed to hear. Someone moving like they knew a door was about to open. And with that, the secondary analyst didn't just add commentary. He added context, the kind that made the story bigger, deeper, and far more complicated than anyone realized. The moment the analyst's comments hit social platforms, everything ignited. Clips were reposted thousands of times within hours. Fan pages turned into battlegrounds. Comment sections became full-on debates, each side arguing with more intensity than the last. The meltdown wasn't just loud, it was chaotic. Some fans celebrated the analyst's support like it was long overdue validation. Others claimed it was nothing more than hype. But the wildest reactions came from people who had previously criticized the player. Overnight, many of them began switching their stance, claiming they'd always seen the potential. Screenshots exposed their old comments, sparking even more arguments.
If you enjoyed today's breakdown and want to keep up with all the drama, trades, and behind-the-scenes action in the NFL, then don't forget to hit that like button.
The story spiraled further when major meme pages, sports accounts, and even celebrities started getting involved. Suddenly, it wasn't just a sports debate, it was mainstream internet culture. Then came the plot twist no one expected. New footage resurfaced. A fan uploaded a clip from months earlier that showed him executing a level of awareness and precision that contradicted the narrative everyone had accepted at the time. Within minutes, the clip went viral. Analysts started stitching it, offering breakdowns that painted him in a completely different light. The same people who dismissed him were now calling the clip undeniable proof that the league had overlooked him. And just like that, the narrative reversed again. People began questioning whether the criticism he faced had ever been fair. Rumors circulated that certain media personalities had intentionally downplayed his progress. Reports claimed that even rival coaches had been keeping tabs on him, preparing for what they suspected was coming. Social media didn't just react, it rewrote the story. The meltdown revealed how quickly public opinion could swing from doubt to belief. It exposed inconsistencies in the narrative, highlighted the pressure he'd been under, and reminded everyone that once the internet gets involved, the truth becomes whatever people believe most passionately in the moment. And through all of it, one thing became undeniable. The conversation had completely shifted. He wasn't just part of the debate anymore, he was the center of it. Kurt Warner entered the discussion with a completely different approach. While everyone else was arguing over takes, he focused on the tape. And the moment he began breaking down the film, the entire conversation evolved. He highlighted the subtleties most analysts missed: the rhythm of Shedeur's footwork, the manipulation of safeties with slight shoulder movements, the ability to hold defenders with his eyes before firing into tight windows. These weren't rookie traits. These were veteran habits. Warner paused the film to show how Shedeur anticipated pressure before it arrived, shifting protections with confidence that shouldn't be possible for a first-year quarterback. He pointed out how Shedeur didn't just survive pressure, he weaponized it. Instead of panicking, He let the pocket collapse just enough to force defenders into committing, then fired strikes into the open space they left behind. He highlighted plays where most rookies bail out, but Shedeur stood firm and delivered. He emphasized moments where the timing was so precise that it felt rehearsed. And the more Warner explained, the clearer the picture became. This wasn't hype. This wasn't luck. This was preparation meeting opportunity. Warner ended the breakdown with a message that resonated across every platform. If this is the baseline, the league is in trouble. And that's when the narrative fully snapped into place. Once the noise settled, the conversation returned to something more grounded, the mechanical issues that created the rough moments. And these weren't catastrophic flaws. They were the small, fixable errors that every rookie deals with, magnified only because of the spotlight he carries. The first major issue was foot alignment. On several dropbacks, Shedeur opened his hips too early, causing the ball to drift outside the intended window. It's a simple correction, but in the NFL, simple mistakes become turnovers. The second issue was weight transfer. At times, Shedeur threw off his back foot even when the pocket was clean, a habit from college where he often relied on arm strength alone. Against pro-level defenses, not driving through the throw results in late or floating passes, exactly what critics jumped on after the game. Another recurring problem was timing. He read the defense correctly, but didn't always trust the window enough to throw on anticipation. Instead, he waited for receivers to declare their break, which is too late at this level. This is where experience comes in, not talent. Timing develops as quarterbacks build chemistry with their receivers, and Shedeur is still in the early stages of that process. But the most realistic critique wasn't mechanical, it was situational. On several plays, the pocket collapsed too quickly for any quarterback to execute cleanly. Blocking mismatches left him scrambling, and even perfect mechanics can't save a quarterback under consistent pressure. Analysts who ignored that context were missing half the story. Still, the responsibility isn't removed. The critique is fair. He must speed up his internal clock, tighten his mechanics, and learn to throw into windows he's not yet comfortable with. But none of these issues suggest he's out of his depth. They suggest he's going through the same developmental curve every young quarterback faces, only under a brighter spotlight and with higher expectations than most. In the end, the realistic critique painted a much clearer picture. Shedeur wasn't exposed. He wasn't overwhelmed. He wasn't exposed as not ready. He was a rookie facing NFL speed, making rookie mistakes and showing flashes of high-level processing. And if he corrects these mechanical details, which he's shown the discipline to do, the next chapter of this story could look very different from the one that sparked all the noise. By the time the final whistle blew against the Ravens, the numbers on the stat sheet were damning. 4 completions on 16 attempts. At first glance, it looked like a disaster. Fans and critics rushed to declare Shedeur Sanders unprepared, overhyped, or simply not ready for the NFL. But the story revealed by film analysis tells a completely different tale. A tale of resilience, talent, and a young quarterback forced to navigate chaos designed by the very system meant to support him. Kurt Warner's breakdown made it crystal clear. Shedeur wasn't failing because of his own ability. He was failing because he was never given a real chance to succeed. Receivers weren't checking back, the offensive line couldn't hold blocks, and the play design offered 0 safety valves. Every mistake was less a reflection of his skill and more a reflection of the impossible circumstances. And yet, even within that storm, flashes of brilliance emerged. Jacob Roach's perspective reinforced this narrative. He highlighted moments when Shedeur attacked the field vertically, attempted throws Dylan Gabriel never even considered, and displayed the kind of arm strength and poise that NFL scouts dream of. The highs of that game were spectacular, not because they were numerous, but because they existed at all under such unfavorable conditions. Each completion, each calculated risk, and each improvisational scramble told the same story. This was a quarterback with talent, instinct, and courage. The lows, naturally, were there too. Holding the ball too long, retreating under pressure. Dropping his eyes at inopportune moments, these were human mistakes that any rookie would make. But they were amplified by context, and context is everything. This is where the payoff comes into focus. The Ravens game was more than a debut. It was a stress test, a crucible that revealed what Shedeur can do when forced to adapt in real time. It exposed the flaws of the Browns' system, the misalignment of coaching decisions with player strengths, and the resilience of a young quarterback facing adversity beyond his control. Now, with the Raiders' game approaching, the stage is set for a dramatic reversal. Shedeur will enter with a full week of preparation, an offense designed around his skills, protection that can withstand pressure, and a chance to prove that the highs against Baltimore were no accident. The narrative payoff isn't just about one game. It's about understanding what happens when talent meets opportunity. It's about realizing that the 4-for-16 stat line didn't capture the flashes of NFL-level skill, the decision-making under duress, or the instinctive creativity Sanders showed. It's about recognizing that a system can fail a player just as easily as a player can fail a system. And in this case, the rookie quarterback emerged from the wreckage stronger, smarter, and more prepared than most would have imagined. The story now pivots from chaos to potential. Shedeur Sanders' future in Cleveland depends on what comes next, and fans, analysts, and the organization itself are about to find out if the glimpses of greatness we saw under fire are merely flashes, or the first signs of something truly transformative for this franchise. The narrative has been flipped, the stakes are higher, and the payoff is waiting to be written, one play, one drive, and one game at a time. As we wrap up this deep dive into Shedeur Sanders' tumultuous debut, the real question isn't just about stats, coaching decisions, or the Ravens' defensive onslaught. It's about opportunity. We've seen flashes of brilliance in impossible circumstances. We've seen a rookie quarterback thrown into chaos, with broken protections, missed timing routes, and zero hot read options, yet still showing NFL-caliber arm talent, poise under pressure, and the courage to push the ball downfield when the safest option would have been to check it down or throw it away. That's the kind of grit and instinct you don't measure in box scores, and it's exactly what makes the upcoming Raiders matchup so fascinating. This is where potential meets preparation, where talent finally gets a chance to prove itself in a fair environment, with a game plan tailored to strengths rather than imposed as a test of resilience under impossible odds. Now, this is where you, the viewer, become part of the story. Sports narratives are no longer just about watching games. They're about dissecting film, understanding context, and weighing performance against opportunity. Was Shedeur set up to fail against Baltimore? Absolutely. But does that mean he's incapable of success in the NFL? Not even close. What we witnessed was a preview of a quarterback who can make big-time throws, take calculated risks, and command a huddle when given even a sliver of real support. The question now is whether Cleveland's coaching staff will finally give him that fair shot, and whether the front office will stand behind their young quarterback instead of allowing politics, ego, or fear to dictate opportunity. And this is where I want to hear from you. What do you think about what we just broke down? Do you believe the Ravens game was an indictment of Shedeur's abilities, or do you see it as the kind of chaotic baptism that reveals hidden potential? Are stats the final word, or does context, film study, coaching failures, and situational adversity matter more in evaluating a player's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this is going to be a heated discussion. We're not here for shallow takes. We're here to analyze, debate, and dig into what really happened on that field. If you want to keep watching, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We'll be bringing you more film breakdowns that cut past the headlines, the hot takes, and the noise. You won't just see the box score. We'll show you the hidden story, the subtle plays, and the critical moments that actually define a player's performance. The next few games are going to matter more than ever, and we'll be here to unpack them, play by play. So as you gear up for Shedeur's next start, keep this in mind. The story isn't written yet. The highs, the lows, and the flashes of brilliance are just the beginning. Whether he proves to be a star, a solid starter, or a situational spark, this is the moment to watch closely. Cleveland's future could hinge on how this rookie responds when the deck is stacked in his favor, and you'll want to be here when it happens.
If you enjoyed today's breakdown and want to keep up with all the drama, trades, and behind-the-scenes action in the NFL, then don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps this channel grow and lets us know you love this kind of content. And hey, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with your friends, your group chats, or anyone who loves football as much as you do. The more the conversation spreads, the better it gets. Most importantly, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and tap the notification bell. That way, you'll never miss when we drop fresh stories, wild rumors, or breaking updates that the mainstream media won't talk about.